Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and today we are down here in Des Moines, Iowa at the Des Moines Concours d'Elegance, and we're here with Eldon, and we have this beautiful and very interesting car behind us. Eldon, tell us what we have behind us here.
We have a 1940 Ford Standard two-door sedan, and my dad bought it new on December 2nd, 1939.
Holy schmoly, so this has been in the family since it was new.
Yes, I'm the second owner.
You are the second owner. Now, everybody has a story about how they acquired this car. So we know it was your dad's car.
Yes.
How did you end up with it?
I ended up with it. Dad drove it until the late 50s. I came along in 1955, and Dad drove it until the late 50s, and then we lived on a farm in southwest Iowa near Atlantic, and he then used it as a farm vehicle. He pulled wagons around with it. And I don't remember a lot of this. My memory of it is playing in it as kids and getting stung by wasps, but because it was out behind the barn. It sat there for years. My brother-in-law was a Ford mechanic and service manager, and he had it running in the late 70s, went back into a shed, sat. Nobody did anything with it, and then my dad passed away in 1998. We had an estate sale, and I always had my eye on it, so I bought it on the estate sale, stuck it in a shed again for 20 years, and then had it restored. I didn't do the restoration work myself, but had it restored to original. And I say to original, I wanted it a car I could drive and get out and go places in it. I enjoy driving it, and we did it that way. So there are some modifications to it, but basically took it back to original. And we finished it 2 years ago in 2019, and I've been driving it as much as I can ever since.
So this is not a trailer queen. This one you drive.
Yes. Yes, and of course with the pandemic we didn't get to go as many places last year as we'd like, but my wife and I look at taking trips in this. Right now I drive it to work. I live about 10 miles from my office, and I have a nice place I can park at the office, and I just enjoy driving it. Up, every time I drive it, somebody pulls up next to me and gives me a thumbs up, waves, hey, cool car. So.
All right, let's step to the front here a minute, and I want to talk about the engine. However, there is a very interesting story about the grill, the front grill in this car. Can you share that with us?
Yes, I will. Anybody who's worked with the 40 Fords and others know that the grills are a kind of an Achilles heel, actually, when you go to find one, because usually they're not in perfect shape. This one was in much less than perfect shape, and the story is, and my brother, Gerald McAfee, lives in Audubon, Iowa, 8 years older than me, tells the story that one day my dad was ready to do chores, and he had workhorses. And one of the horses was at the other end of the pasture. My dad wasn't real happy about that. And they went out to get the horse in this Ford,
in the car
through the pasture. And let's just say my dad nudged the horse with the car, being as correct as I can here.
Yes.
The horse wasn't real happy about being nudged and kicked the grill in. And so at least part of it, pieces of it. This is not that grill. I have it in the shop at home. This is a replacement, but that grill was not in condition.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and the bumper's the same. This is not one of those cars that Grandma drove to church on Sundays and was in the barn.
No, this was got to be beat up a little bit if your dad was driving in the farm, pulling things with it.
And if you know many farmers, and a lot of people, but especially farmers, when they're done with something, it usually means not because they just thought it was time to get a new one. It was wore out. This car was wore out. It has a flathead V8 in it. I have Dad had two motors in it. He had to put a second one in. I mean, he used it lived on mud roads. Dad always said this is the best mudding car he ever had. So anyway, this is a flathead V8 in it, but it's a restored flathead V8.
Okay. Can we take a look at the engine?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this doesn't look, like 30 years old.
No.
Yeah, okay.
It is a restored flathead V8, but we bought it that way. The Chad Axtell here in north of Des Moines with Power Performance, we bought it that way. And everyone will notice that is an air conditioner. That obviously was not on there in December 2nd, 1939. The generator sat in the middle.
Okay.
So my wife and I wanted a car we could drive.
Right.
And
so you put the necessary things in there to make it comfortable enough for you to be able to drive.
And I understand that's not original, but we wanted it so we could use it. So yes, there's an air conditioner unit, heavier duty radiator.
Okay.
And those who know, if I don't know if you can get this, but in the grill here is a spot for the crank. And of course, this radiator doesn't have it. I have the original radiator. It was actually in two sections, and had a spot where the crank went in. But other than that, it is as original as we can be.
And it would have been the original motor that would have come with the car. Right?
Correct.
And we know lots of owners. I mean, if you want to drive these things and actually feel safe and be comfortable, there are some modifications you need to make. And I think it's just awesome you have the original flathead V8 in there.
I do. It is, of course, 12 volt.
Okay.
And again, we were looking for something we could get out and go. The other thing I was going to say about it, Dad used to always say, when you run this car and you shut it off, you always had trouble getting it started when it was hot. And I think a lot after it had been run, this one starts right up, etc. So again, we were looking to restore the car, but we also wanted it so we could use it and drive it. That's the fun I have with it, is driving it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's 3 on the tree, manual transmission, manual steering. Dad had a spinner on the steering wheel.
The knob?
The knob. I don't have that on there. I didn't put that back on. Different steering wheel, but again, this is what we have.
All right, well, let's take a look around the side.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the color of the car.
Okay.
Obviously, because it's been fully restored, it's been repainted.
Absolutely.
Was this the color that was on it when your dad had it?
Well, obviously, I wasn't around at the time, but yes, this is the original color. We matched it to the factory numbers, etc. The Chad who restored it did a lot of research. And we did know, and the story here is, of course, it was black as long as I can remember. Well, what happened was in the early 50s, Mom and Dad didn't have the financial wherewithal to get another car. It needed to be repainted. The story, as I understand it, is Mom went to town, got a bucket of black paint, and brushed it on. So it became black.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And it was on there, good, a good coat.
A good coat.
And I always remember it being black, but as it started to weather, because it sat outside for it was in a shed now and then, but not all that often, you could see the brush strokes as it faded away and the green underneath it. And of course, under the hood, Mom didn't paint the underneath the hood,
so you got a good paint sample underneath
there. We knew what we had. Yes, this is the original color.
So this is what Ford would have painted it as it came out of the factory. Okay, the running boards down here.
Yes.
Now they would have been that rubber coating.
Yes, is my understanding they were, and these are, of course, restored. The body is all original. The original body had some rust in the back end. We can talk about if we have time. I'm not sure about the running boards. I think those are original and then just recoated.
Okay, is it steel or wood underneath?
Steel.
Steel. Okay, the wheels.
Yes.
Obviously, period correct.
Yes.
Okay. And the hubcaps and the moon rings.
Everything period correct.
That would have been what was on there.
I've got the original hubcaps and you could see those. I talked about the grill being beat up. The hubcaps.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah.
You could tell they had run into a few things. Yes.
All right. Let's take a walk to the back. Okay, so in the back here, you were talking about there was some rust.
Okay, the car was solid all the way around except for, do you mind if I point?
Yeah, go ahead.
This piece right here was rusted out, and the pan in the trunk.
Okay.
The story there is Mom and Dad hauled ice in it. Didn't have a refrigerator back then, so they would haul ice from town,
Okay.
put it in the back. Well, there's going to be
Some
melting.
leakage, yep.
Dad also used it to haul feed with, and even now I'm not talking just bag feed. Some feed,
Raw feed.
raw
Okay.
chicken feed, hog feed, etc. Mainly chicken feed because it wasn't the large amounts, as I understand it from what Dad told me. And what does feed have in it? It has salt in it. So the two together, the melting ice, not at the same time, but
right, but over time.
It rusted that out. And we had to replace that. Chad did, and then he had to do a little welding on the body pan because it was rusted out. Other than that, that body was solid.
That's really interesting.
And it had some dents in it, and you can tell he did an excellent job of getting those out.
That's from herding the horses from the side.
Yeah.
Can we take a look at the trunk?
Yes. Oh.
Okay, so now on the inside, this would have had a rubber floor mat. Is that something you've added just for protection?
We added that.
It normally would have been either bare or carpet.
Just bare steel.
Bare steel. Okay.
Okay.
So the ice doesn't. He still hauls ice.
Yeah. All right. Again, anybody, you will know that I wasn't around much when this was being used. But if it had rubber originally, I don't know. But all I remember is steel.
Guessing it was just steel.
Yes.
Yeah. Original spare tire?
No.
Okay.
No.
The speedometer down
Yes.
there. You've got an older speedometer console gauge. That's the original one.
Yes. And I was asked how many miles were on it. I had to look. It's got 96,000 something on that original speedometer.
Oh, wow.
So, and believe me, those are not highway miles.
those are field horse chasing, cattle rustling miles.
Dirt road miles.
Dirt road miles, okay.
Yeah, because again, they lived in rural Cass County, Iowa. He lived near Anita originally, and then moved to Atlantic, and near Atlantic, but not in town, out in the country, and mud roads.
All right. The license plate, is that original?
That is the last license plate that was on it.
Cool.
When I got it, it's a 1959.
Yeah. Go ahead and pull it out.
1959. That's what was on it when he quit driving the car. And then he did put it in storage, as far as title and registration, and it was in storage until I pulled it out in 2019 and registered it.
I love it that you save those little pieces of memorabilia.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to walk around to the other side here. All right. Speaking of the interior, let's take a look at it. Okay, so this would have been originally sort of this
Yes.
sort of brandy red.
Yep. That's
Okay.
the original color.
And then the gauge, obviously, we saw the original in the trunk. So this is just a replica.
Yes, it's obviously to fit with the 1944, but it is a replica.
Okay, and you've got on the far side, you've got a white button that comes out right here.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
That would be the starter button.
Okay, and then on the other side, you've got 4 white buttons.
Mm-hmm. Throttle, lights. I got to look myself. Choke, cigarette lighter.
Oh, okay.
The reason I don't I don't use it now, and that's a cover. But yeah, those are the 4 buttons.
Okay, and then the steering wheel obviously did not tilt or anything. No. Okay, but it's a original steering wheel to this vehicle. I mean, not to this vehicle, but it's the one that would have had.
Yes, little smaller. We couldn't find. It's manual steering, so you want a good sized steering wheel on there.
Yeah.
It's a little smaller than the original one on there, but it is for a replica for a 1944. The original one is all cracked. I have it in the garage.
And you saw that part.
Oh yes.
Along with I think the rear bumper, you have the hitch on, right?
Yes, Dad put a hitch on it so he could pull wagons.
Now, on the floor is just your standard clutch, brake, and accelerator.
Absolutely, it's still 3-speed transmission, manual on the 3 on the tray. One thing I'll point out, as you may see right now, on the floor there, I have laying there the registration that. And many people remember this. You always had them in a little sleeve that you put around the steering column. and I've got those. Dad didn't keep them all the way back to 1940, but I've got them back into the early 50s. You just every year you got your new registration, put it in your sleeve, and it went around the steering column.
Now, you've done some modifications to make this car comfortable. So tell us what this is. This a heated seat switch or
this one right here?
Yeah,
that is the for the instrument panel here. You can switch from what you get, what it shows you. It'll show you miles. It'll show you RPMs, etc.
Okay, so is this a Dakota digital dash?
Is
not. You're not sure.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll take that out. Okay, but you can switch. Yeah. So you got some modern features there, just again for ease of driving. All right, up on top of what would have been the radio, you've got just a center grille.
Yeah, and that is the original dash.
Okay. And that was just a decorative part because there isn't a radio.
No, it had a radio in it originally.
Okay.
And, well, I don't know about when Dad ordered it. It had a radio in it. He might have put it in himself. Another thing Dad put in, he always said it didn't have the best heater. He added an extra heater down there on the floorboards. Okay. We didn't put that. I don't drive this in the winter very much. And another thing your viewers will see is there's a mirror up on the dash.
Right.
And Dad put that in, as I understand it.
Really?
With a little clock in it.
Yeah.
And we had that, of course, restored, but we put that back on. One thing we didn't put back is Dad also had a little fan he put on the dash.
Okay.
We didn't put that back in. Yeah.
Okay.
But, obviously, he didn't have the air conditioning.
Now, you have a glove compartment on this side,
yes.
On the passenger side. The seats have obviously been reupholstered, but is this the same type of striping sort of color that would have been on the car originally?
We had it done here. Chad did not do that. We had Al's Downtown Auto Upholstery here in Des Moines. Chris did that, and yes, we ordered the material that would match the original. It's a mohair, but back to what the original was.
And in the front here, so the window, this window is separate from this one completely. Okay, but in the back, you've got some unique windows.
Okay, should we take a look?
Yes.
Can we walk around?
Yeah.
I'll show how that.
Let's see. I'll get from this angle back here.
Okay, up here?
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can open the door or just reach in.
I can do it. Okay, this is the back window, and you can see it's on a crack right now. As I understand it, these are called cigar windows, and they have various names. But you can roll it down. This is as far as it goes.
Okay.
And then you can roll it back up. And then you turn it the other way a little ways, and it opens this way. That was for the ventilation. It has a hood scoop, and that gives you good ventilation.
And that was just by reversing the direction of the handle.
Yeah. Yes, and there's quite a mechanism in there.
I was going to guess that
you can ask Chad about that mechanism. He had to do a lot of work on them. So that's how the back windows work.
Neat. All right, let's end. Do you want to end up in the front?
Yep.
Okay. I'll ask you what your favorite.
Sure.
Okay.
And where do you want me?
Up here. Let's see. I don't want you looking at the sun, so why don't you guys look over here at me? That way you won't have to look up.
Come right here.
Come step in front of me. There you go.
Get the grill between us, maybe.
There you go.
All right. So, Eldon, what's one of your favorite memories with this car?
Well, again, we weren't using. It wasn't the family car when I remember. As I said, it brought me home from the hospital, but I don't remember that. My favorite memory of this, I guess, is playing in it as a kid. And that's what led me to want to restore it. But I guess my favorite memory is having it restored and keeping it in the family.
And I think your dad, your mom was proud of you, but I think your dad would be as well.
Here's the story I tell that Dad would be very proud, I'm sure. But then he'd probably turn to me and say, "You spent how much to do all that?" And he'd be Dad. He would question my financial acumen, if you want to say, but he would also be very obviously proud that it was saved.
Absolutely. Well, Eldon, thank you so much for sharing your car and your story with us. We sure appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad to have you here today.
Thanks for watching.